The torment of chocolate started when I was a little girl. I doubt I'm alone. The mere mention of Milky Way, M&Ms, or Mounds Bar made me melt. But it was my mother's chocolate chip cookies that had me dancing on my tiptoes. The butter, the flour, the sugar dotted with the melted chocolate morsels, it was a beautiful thing. Those mounds of Toll House perfection spoke volumes. I loved watching my mother stand by her classic 1950s KitchenAid mixer, measuring the ingredients, cracking the eggs in her own special way. She'd let me help her scoop the dough onto the baking sheets and, of course, lick the beaters. My mother didn't express her affection vocally or physically that often, but when she handed me that chocolate chip cookie warm from the oven, I knew I was loved. So what is it about chocolate that speaks to us all so loudly? Well, it is complicated. Literally, chocolate is one of the most complex foods on the planet. It boasts 300 compounds. Steve Almond, author of The Candy Freak, puts that number at 1,200 compounds. That's a huge number. And here's a few of those chemicals and why we may be attracted to the feel-good food. Anatomine, known as the bliss chemical. Arginine, nature's Viagra. Caffeine, a stimulant. Dopamine, which mediates desires and motivation. Phenylethylamine, the love chemical. Polyphenols, antioxidants, good for us. Serotonin, anti-stress, and the feel-good chemical. Theobromine, a stimulant which reduces blood pressure. Tryptophan, an antidepressant amino acid. I'm not sure which of these chemicals got a hold of my brain, but it's a rare day. A little bit of chocolate doesn't pass my lips. What does chocolate say to you? I pose this question to several of my peers. I got a variety of responses back. Romance, love, comfort, stress relief, magical, and Willy Wonka. Where did all of this originate? Well, chocolate comes from the chocolate tree, of course. The Mayans named that tree Theobroma cacao, meaning food of the gods. They would use the cacao beans as currency, and we would originally drink it as a bitter beverage for rituals and ceremonies. So where does this all come from? So from the cacao tree, as you can see, we've got the cacao tree, which contains cacao pods growing right from the tree trunk, and within the cacao pod are the beans. The beans, the mystical process of making chocolate includes fermenting those beans, sun-drying them, then roasting them. And from there, we're going to go ahead and grind those nibs down. And that's where we'll get a variety of our products, including the cocoa, the chocolate paste, and then cacao powder, cocoa mass, cocoa liqueur, cocoa butter. Now, I know you've all been waiting for this. It is time to taste. So what you're going to taste first are your cacao nibs. I'll give you a second to do that. So you're going to try those little black nibs. Just take a few of them. And what you're trying is the base of all chocolate. It's the purest form of chocolate that you get. Then I'd like you to sample with either the raisins or the pecans and see how that affects the chocolate. It seems chocolate's really been speaking to us since its ancient beginnings. Food of the gods tells me special. Used as currency connotates value. And in ritual use signifies sharing. So share I did. As a publisher of a fitness magazine, I would make regular stops at my clients, bringing them batches of chocolate chip cookies every month. They appreciated the treats, and they knew I cared about them. But as much as I loved to bake cookies, I really wanted to do something a little healthier for my clients. I tried and obsessed over making a healthy chocolate chip cookie, but I failed. So I became acquainted with some raw food experts, and they introduced me to what you have, raw chocolate. And I was blown away by the overall flavor profile. It tasted way beyond anything I'd ever tried before. So right as I'm starting this chocolate journey and making some chocolate, I had to go visit my mom. She wasn't doing very well. And so my father asked me if there was anything that I really wanted. Well, I wanted the KitchenAid. So we packed up the KitchenAid into my carry-on bag. I literally carried it through security, and as I got to the security conveyor belt, I plopped the suitcase up onto the conveyor belt, motioned to the TSA agent, "There's a mixer in this bag." She looked back at me and asked me if it was a KitchenAid. I shook my head yes, and she gave me a thumbs up. The week after returning from Florida, I would be at the Old Town Scottsdale Farmers Market, my regular haunt. I approached the farmers market manager and asked her if she'd be interested in carrying my chocolates. She passed out the samples to some of her staff, and she came back, and sure enough, it was another thumbs up. And a week later, I would be vending at the market. Well, I knew people loved getting gifts of chocolate, but would they actually buy my chocolate? They did. It was intoxicating and overwhelming at the same time. So what I realized was how captivating chocolate was. People that weren't interested in riding a bike 100 miles or running marathons now connected to me. Walls were crumbling. People that I'd wanted to reach for so long, I could now connect with and talk to. My mission's always been to inspire people to lead healthier lives. The mantra was always be fit, get active. But the reality is, I knew that what we eat is so important to our overall health. Fact is, 70% of our immune system and 80% of our plasma reside in our gut. I knew I could lead people to make better choices by giving them virtuous yet delicious chocolates. So that's how I came up with my chocolate. And when I say virtuous, I mean no refined sugar, chemicals, or crap. And one of the big pivots came actually, I realized that people really didn't want to be lectured to, and that's kind of why this became my mission. I could do it this way. Reality is, Who would prefer a kale salad over chocolate on Valentine's Day? So if you're wondering how I got over that obsession of a chocolate chip cookie, making it healthy, well, you have what's known as my can't do without sitting in front of you, and it's time to eat it. This is a game changer. I believe good for you food should taste good. No exceptions. So today, like my mother, I share my chocolate with the aid of her KitchenAid mixer. Share chocolate, connect, and change lives. Thank you.